right here. Went across Lake Erie, through the Welland Canal, across Lake Ontario, up the Oswego Canal, across the Erie Canal to the Hudson River, down the Hudson, down the New Jersey coast, into Delaware Bay, and then the Chesapeake Bay, down to Norfolk, and then we followed the Intercoastal Waterway down to Stuart, Florida. And at Stuart, Florida, we went from the east coast to the west coast on the Okeechobee Waterway, which runs up the St. Lucie River, across Lake Okeechobee, down the Caloosahatchee River, comes out at Fort Myers. And then we turned north from Fort Myers, went up to Tarpon Springs, and we didn't go any further north than that because the water gets shallow up there, and we draw 5 foot 3 inches. It just couldn't go up there. So we turned south from there and went down to Naples, and that's as far south as we went for the same reason. Things get shallow along the coast further south from there. We went from Naples out to the Dry Tortuga Islands, which lie about 70 miles west of Key West in the Gulf. And then from there we went to Key West, worked our way up the Keys, and to the Palm Beach area, where we provisioned to go to the Bahamas. Then we dropped down to Fort Lauderdale and went to the Bahamas from Fort Lauderdale. And we came into the Bahamas at La Caya, which is on Grand Bahama Island, near Freeport. Fort Lauderdale will be over here. We came over to Caya here. Then we went down to the Berry Islands, and then to Nassau, then the Exuma, the chain of islands called the Exuma. And went from the north end to the south. Went to Long Island, worked our way to the north end, and then back over to Georgetown, the Exumas. Back up the Exumas, and then across to Cape Eleuthera, worked our way up Eleuthera Island to Spanish Wells and Harbor Island, and then went to the Abacos. And in the Abacos, we visited Little Harbor, Marsh Harbor, and Hopetown, Man of War Key, Green Turtle Key, and Treasure Key, Grand Key, Walker's Key, and finally went to the West End, and then came back to Florida from West End. We were in the Bahamas for about 6 months. We went over May 1st of 1987 it was, and got back October 20th of 1987, back to Palm Beach. And then when we got back, we reprovisioned and did some maintenance on the boat, and then came up to the Okeechobee Waterway again, went across to the west coast, and went to the Sarasota area and stayed at Longboat Key near Sarasota. And we spent the winter there. We had been cruising for a year and a couple months, and we decided we'd like to take a break. And so we went to a very nice marina. It was tied in with a hotel, and they gave us transportation to hotels. We had access to the swimming pool there and the beach and the jacuzzi and facilities.
Why'd you leave?
Pardon me, why did we leave? Well, we hated to leave. But we had lots of family visitors there and other friends. And Robin even got a job at the Publix grocery store, bagging groceries while we were there. I had bought bicycles and we rode around on the island. So anyway, we had a very pleasant winter, that second winter there in Longboat Key. And then in the spring, we came down to the Okeechobee Waterway again for the third time, went across from west to east, and then came back up the east coast the way we had gone down. But we went to some other places on the way north that we hadn't seen on the way down. We went up Potomac, spent about 3 weeks in Washington, D.C., and had a great time visiting there. We also went up the Delaware River to Philadelphia. We did some sightseeing at New York when we stopped there. Then we flew home from New York for Robin's 20th class reunion. And, spent about 10 days at home, and then went back to New York and took our 9-year-old niece with us when we went back to New York, Robin's sister's daughter. And she traveled with us then from New York up to Mackinac Island. And her mom came up and picked her up at Mackinac Island. That was a great experience for her. And with her on board, we went up the Hudson again, across the Erie Canal, and then into Lake Ontario and through the Trent Severn Waterway, which is in Canada, which connects Lake Ontario and Lake Huron. Great waterway. We would like to go up and do that again. Beautiful terrain and very interesting. Of Lake Huron, actually Georgian Bay, which is part of Lake Huron, to a cottage that my family owns up there, which may have been to my brother Clayton and my sister Barbara Headley have a cottage there. So we spent a couple days with them, and then came across the North Channel over to Mackinac. Our daughter, Shelley, was in college at the time we were doing this, and she worked at Mackinac that summer. So we had a chance to stop and see her and meet her friends and her coworkers. And then we went from Mackinac to Chicago. Went right through downtown Chicago and went down the rivers from Chicago down to Mobile, Alabama. We were on the Illinois River, the Mississippi River, the Ohio River, Tennessee, and Tombigbee, and the Mobile River. Came out at Mobile and then went across to New Orleans. And spent our third winter in New Orleans. And again, had a great time. Went to Mardi Gras, saw the parades, got invited to a Mardi Gras ball. Made a lot of friends there. People were very friendly and had a great time in New Orleans. And in the spring then, we went across, took the boat across to Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And that's where we left our boat with a broker for sale. Bought a couple old cars, I mean old. I bought a 1970 Buick that was 19 years old at the time I bought it. Paid $250 for it. Bought Robin the nice car, bought her a $500 car. And we loaded our gear in our cars, and not knowing whether we would make it back to Columbia or to the Dublin again, or in them, but they did fine. And so we came back, and that was in April of 19.